Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga Matchday 16, first one in 2026. Back for the break, Ronan. Once upon a time, this was a longer break in Germany, but well, 2-3 weeks ago we saw again Bayern Munich winning, and I guess the interest is in the Champions League spots this season.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think the battle for top four and even the battle for top 6-7 kind of should be interesting this season. The battle for number one is already over, as we well know. But yeah, we were back a bit earlier this season, so there's no kind of warm weather camps that we've seen in the past. There's no trips to the Middle East for some of these players, or maybe somewhere exotic. Instead, I think on Tuesday evening, Bayern Munich are playing Salzburg in a friendly, so it's not as exotic as it used to be before. But yeah, it's good to have the Bundesliga back. And it's good to be building towards the World Cup with a lot of these teams as well. A lot of these players looking forward to the World Cup and trying to prove themselves in the second half of the season.
Well, I have to say that I hate these pictures that we saw in Christmas time with footballers in the Middle East walking tigers and fighting with tigers and doing this kind of events that they think is funny. Well, but I don't think so. And in the Bundesliga, again, we didn't have a long break, but we are back to analyze what is going to happen. I'm sure it's going to be very cold in Germany in these stadiums in January. So let's get warm. Let's try to make some money. And of course, let me know in the comments what do you think about these games. And now let's go on with the show. And we start the year with a great game, probably the best game at the weekend. Ronan, on Friday, Eintracht Frankfurt, Borussia Dortmund 7th. Frankfurt 4 points away from the Champions League spots. Dortmund second after beating Gladbach before the break. Frankfurt drew with Hamburg, and the bookies place Dortmund, of course, as favorites. 2.11, only one defeat this season for Borussia Dortmund against Bayern.
Yeah, I think Borussia Dortmund should be favourites, but as you know, in games with Eintracht Frankfurt, anything could happen, especially earlier in the season. But we saw them maybe take the foot off the gas a little as we got near the winter break, and they were kind of not scoring as many goals as they were in the early months of the season. But I think they might have rectified that slightly because they've made a winter signing already, a January signing. They've brought in Younes and 𝗵𝗏𝗏 from Elversberg in the second division, who was on fire in the second division in the first half of the season, scored 12 goals in 17 games in the 𝐷𝗏𝗏liga. So he could be a huge addition for them. He cost just 8 million. He will replace 𝐬𝐿, or he will actually play, whereas 𝐬𝐿 didn't, and Wahi has gone back to France on loan for the second half of the season with the intention to make that permanent move. And I think this is the sort of forward that Frankfurt usually kind of develop better, because Wahi came to the club maybe as a bigger name kind of forward, whereas these under the radar guys, we've seen them kind of really develop at Eintracht Frankfurt in the past few years. Obviously, 𝗵𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝐿𝐴, even before that, 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏, 𝗬𝐵ci, these sort of players kind of really came on. So I think Frankfurt will be looking to him for goals in the second half of the season, and hopefully they will get more goals and give us more entertaining matches, because this Borussia Dortmund team is a team that we know can win matches. They have had defensive problems of their own. They usually concede goals. They've, if you look at these teams in recent past, it's not looked good for Frankfurt. Dortmund have had 10 wins to 2 in the past 8 years, 4 draws in those matches. It was a 1-1 draw when they played in the cup in October. Dortmund went through on penalties, but if you look at Dortmund's defence, it's still not great. It hasn't been as good as last season for 𝐿𝐴 this season, and they have lost Pascal Gross, obviously, in the transfer window. 𝐿𝐴 said he wouldn't replace Pascal Gross at the club. Jude Bellingham has plenty of off the field and on field problems that are well documented, that he's not happy with how things are going. So there are kind of doubts still over Borussia Dortmund heading into the second half of the season. So Dortmund have conceded in each of their last 4 away games. Bayern was the only Bundesliga game at home this season that Frankfurt failed at scoring, so both teams to score yes could be a great option here. Both teams score yes is 155, but if you look maybe to make a bit more money, the goal market is usually good for Frankfurt, and hopefully to start off 2026 the way they started the first half of the season in 25-26. So over 2.5 goals has happened 70% of the time for Frankfurt this season. It's happened half the time for Borussia Dortmund. So total goals over 3 is exactly 2.
Well, it's a good game also to check our smart bet tool. And here we see first half result, Eintracht Frankfurt, surprising. 3.8 if you are backing Frankfurt to win the first half. But as I said, Dortmund are favorites 2.11 to win. You see goals. We should see goals when we have Frankfurt 30 goals scored, 30 goals conceded. Next game, first one on Saturday is Freiburg Hamburg. Freiburg 9th in the standings, far away from Europe, 7 points away, even if they beat Wolfsburg 3-4 before the international break and drew with Dortmund, happier in Europe, whereas Hamburg grabbed a very good point against Frankfurt. So they are 4 points away from their city rival, Pauli.
Yeah, I think the thing with Hamburg you could probably have to look at is the difference when they don't play in that city. When they don't play in Hamburg, they seem to be a kind of a much poorer team. If you look at the away table so far this season, they are last. They have not won an away match so far this season in the Bundesliga, which is not good. I wouldn't be too confident of them picking it up here either. I know they're only a few points behind Freiburg in the table. 9th and 13th isn't that big a gap at the moment, but when Freiburg last played Hamburg at home, which was earlier this season in the Cup as well, they won 2-1. Freiburg ended the year as well with 2 wins and a draw. They beat Salzburg, Wolfsburg, they drew with Dortmund. So they were on a good run of form. They probably didn't want the winter break to come at that time. But if you know something about those two wins, they both had Berg at the end of their name, like Freiburg do themselves. So when they play a team that has Berg in the name, they tend to win. So they could win here. Hamburg's last away game was a 4-1 defeat to Hoffenheim. Not good at all. So I had a look at the smart bet as well for this one. It's given 5 stars to Freiburg to win, and I like that at 187. We'll go with the computers this time.
All right. Next one is Heidenheim Cologne. We left Heidenheim in direct relegation spots, penultimate, 1 point less than Pauli, and we have really good odds if you are taking Cologne to win this game. 2.38 mid-table, lost to Union Berlin and Leverkusen. They are winless in the last 5, but of course you have to be favorite if you are going to travel to Heidenheim, Ronan.
Yeah, you have to kind of be brave because the Heidenheim haven't been that great this season at all themselves. They're obviously 17 for a reason. Their form is a bit better than Cologne in all competitions in the last 6 games. It's loss, 1-1, loss. Whereas Cologne is loss, drew, draw, loss. So these are 2 teams. This is both teams that lose sort of a game. This has all feels of 2 kind of disappointing, frustrating teams. Unless, of course, Cologne have turned the corner in the new year and can do something different. But before the end of the year, they were not on a good run, like you said. They were not doing quite well, whereas Heidenheim were a bit patchy, but they deserve to be in the relegation because they do not look like a Bundesliga team at times this season. Cologne are kind of slightly proving they are. That's why they're in mid-table. But Heidenheim, they're not scoring enough goals, and that's a huge problem when you're trying to stay up, when you're trying to battle for points here and there and trying to pick up every point you have. They're not even scoring a goal a game. It's 0.9 goals per game they're averaging. None of Cologne's last 4 games have had more than 2 total goals, so I think this one could be a stinker. Smart bet 4 stars is going for a Cologne win. I like it at 241. I think they could get a low-scoring win out of this one, but overall I think this is just going to be a bad match. So under 2.75 total goals is 195.
Well, Heidenheim trying to escape from the bottom 3. Also there we have Pauli in play-out spots right now and hosting RB Leipzig, 2 points away from Hoffenheim, only Leipzig in the 4th spot after losing the last 2 games in 2025 against Leverkusen and Union Berlin. Pauli ended the year with a draw against Mainz, and here I'm kind of surprised to see decent odds to back RB Leipzig. First of all, Ronan, around 2, which I think is good. And second, that our smart bet is going for the opposite. It's going for 1x for Pauli.
Yeah, I'm also surprised by all of those things because I think RB Leipzig, they are fourth in the table for a reason. They are a team that are going to contend for those Champions League places. You wouldn't be surprised to see them finish anywhere between kind of second and maybe sixth. But yeah, I think this is a good side, a good young team. Like we've said before in many episodes, they're not playing in Europe, so they don't have that to juggle this season. They don't need to have as deep a squad as usual. But if you look at some of the players that they have coming back in this first game of the year, 𝐜𝐴Z𝐵 is back in training, so he should feature. Antonio Nusa is also expected to be fit for this match. Those two players they kind of feel like two kind of new signings because they're both such key parts of the RB Leipzig team. They're such great attacking talents. They're kind of add an extra kind of vibrancy to their attack. So I think that will give RB Leipzig kind of something fresh for this one. So Pauli, they've on a good run themselves. They're unbeaten in four competitions, whereas RB Leipzig ended 2025 terribly, back-to-back 3-1 defeats to Union Berlin and Bayer Leverkusen. So they need to forget about last year, and I think they will. I think they look forward to this year. And St. Pauli, they have not been strong at home, kind of repeating last season. They weren't one of the best teams in the Bundesliga last season, despite the fact they stayed up. They weren't great at home, and they're not great at home again this season. They're 15th in the home table, whereas Leipzig are 6th in the away table, so they are picking up lots of points on the road this season. I think they can do the same again this time. I think RB Leipzig at 2.01 against the team in 16th, against the team that is St. Pauli in 16th. Yeah, it's hard to look past that. So I'm going to go with you on this one. I'm going to agree that looks very tasty.
Well, and the other team in relegation spots, Mainz, last in the standings, 8 points only, one win, traveling to the capital. Union Berlin favorite. They beat Cologne and RB Leipzig in the last two games. How do you see this one? Mainz, of course, bottom of the table, but undefeated in the last 4 games, also counting the Conference League games.
Yeah, and a game against Bayern Munich, which they picked up a point in. So the Mainz, unbeaten in 4 games. It's fantastic. Maybe they have changed. We said many times that playing in the Conference League was tough for them. They've been winning matches in the Conference League. They've been looking good in the Conference League, but maybe it's too much for a team of Mainz's size and a team of Mainz's depth at the moment. But they have kind of strengthened a small bit so far in winter. To borrow Philipp Tietz from Augsburg, he's only got 1 goal in 10 games this season in the Bundesliga, which looks terrible. But when you look at the amount of minutes he's played, he's only played 189 minutes. So it's essentially he's got 1 goal in 2 full matches, so that's not too bad. And he scored 7 goals for Augsburg last season. He scored 8 for Augsburg in the Bundesliga the season before. So he can score goals in the Bundesliga. That is what they need to kind of stay up in the Bundesliga. They have been producing better results. In recently, they've 1 win so far in the Bundesliga, and that was on the road. So that is a positive going into this one. The most common result between these two sides is a 1-1. Correct score 1-1 could be an option here at 6.50. Mainz double chance, I also like the look of it, 176. I think they could do something here because I think Mainz are not as bad as the table is showing, and that's partly because of the fact, like you said, they are playing in the Conference League. They picked up some good results in the Conference League. They put in some good performances in the Conference League. They put in some decent performances in the Bundesliga recently. I think they will be much more confident in the second half of the season. If you look at the last 5 games between these two teams, they were all both teams to score yes. So I'm going for both teams to score yes in this one. Ties in with that 1-1 result, 196.
All right, the next one is Werder Bremen, Hoffenheim. A great season for Hoffenheim so far, very close to the Champions League spots, only 2 points away from RB Leipzig, from Leverkusen. They drew with Stuttgart and beat Hamburg before the break. Werder Bremen, only 2 points in the last 5 games.
Yeah, this Hoffenheim team are kind of really performing above expectations. With 2 games left till the proper mid-season in the Bundesliga, 17 games will be halfway exactly through the season. It looks like it could be their best season ever in the Bundesliga in the first half of the season. So, yeah, this is a Hoffenheim team that are doing business. They have their sights set on qualifying for Europe. They think they can qualify for Europe. Obviously, the money would be a huge help if you do get into Europe. They have made a transfer already in the winter window. 𝐿 has joined on loan from Borussia Dortmund. He's an American teenager. He's not played for the USMNT yet. He's not played for the senior side, but like I said at the start of the show, with the World Cup coming up, there's a lot of these kind of players who kind of want to put a marker down, kind of impress the international bosses, get into the squad or the roster, as you would say, for America for the World Cup for the United States. And I think he can be someone who can. He's a winger. He was highly regarded at Borussia Dortmund, but as you know, they have such a deep squad. It's hard for you to get games when you're playing there. So he's on an initial loan that could be made permanent in the summer. And if he impresses for Hoffenheim, he could be going to the World Cup. He's going to try and do that. I think he can impress. I think the Hoffenheim team is kind of made for players like him. It has been, like in the past decade or more, Hoffenheim is a player where you can develop, a place where you can develop as a young player. So I think it should be a shrewd sign. And Hoffenheim on the road, they have been fantastic this season. They're second in the away table, just one loss away all season. That was a 2-0 against Borussia Dortmund. So I think they can win this one. The no wins in 5 for Bremen. They're on a terrible run. They've no goals in their last 2 games. Hoffenheim just ended the year well, drew 0-0 in Stuttgart after beating Hamburg 4-1. So Hoffenheim, Asian handicap -1/4 I'm looking at here, because that comes in at over 2.
And the last game we have on Saturday is Leverkusen and Stuttgart, third against the 6th. Only 3 points between these two teams. Leverkusen ended the year in style, beating Leipzig 3-1. And also Cologne, also Stuttgart were able to beat Bremen and drew with Hoffenheim. How do you see this one? I think it's a positive first half of the season for Leverkusen. After sacking early the manager, I think they saw the problem. They act on time, and they are saving indeed the season and doing a decent season, Ronan.
You're saying that Manchester United should have sacked Ruben Amorim?
Maybe Slot, maybe Real Madrid with Xabi Alonso. There are so many cases.
yeah. Leverkusen acted really quickly. It was only a couple of games into the season, and it's made a huge difference. They're now third in the table. Stuttgart are 6th. There's just 3 points in the difference between these two sides. So these are two teams that are battling for those Champions League places, like I said. And Stuttgart have signed a player of their own. A new striker has arrived. 𝗷𝗏𝗏𝗏 has arrived from the second division in Spain. Maybe you're familiar with him. 8 in 18. He got there from Racing Santander. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, you will correct me. You will tell me. But yeah, so there's a new face up front for Stuttgart, which should help them too. And hopefully it will give us goals in this one. It was a 4-3 to Leverkusen and Stuttgart the last time they met. Leverkusen are unbeaten in their last 2 matches. They have 2 wins in a row, actually, in the last 2 matches. Stuttgart are unbeaten in 3, so hopefully that leads to goals for us. Over 2.5 goals in this one is 63% of the time each, exactly. Both of the teams so far in all competitions this season, 63% of the time they've had over 2.5 goals, so I think it could be a bit more than that. So I'm going to go for total goals over 3.25 at 2. And as well as that, I'm looking at the goal scorer market. I'm not going to bet on Stuttgart's new man to score on his debut, because that's too much to ask. I'm going to bet on Bayer Leverkusen's main man to continue his scoring streak, because if you look at the calendar year graphics that always come out, stats that come out at the end of the year, Patrick Schick was one of the top 10 goal scorers in the top 5 leagues for club and country in 2025. Hopefully he can continue that for country in 2026, because Ireland play the Czechia in the Nations League playoffs. But as long as he can do it for Bayer Leverkusen, that'll be good. So Patrick Schick as an anytime score is 2.38.
He always delivers with Czech Republic, much more than with his clubs, that's for sure. It's this kind of players that we only see, or mostly see, when they are playing for the national team. Podolski style, for instance. Well, 6 goals this season in the Bundesliga. And for Sunday, 2 games. Gladbach Augsburg is the first one, both in the bottom half of the table. Augsburg only 2 points more than Pauli. For this game, Gladbach are favorites, although lost the last 2 games to Dortmund and Wolfsburg. Tough one here.
Yeah, I think it could be, because these are 2 teams kind of around each other in the table. Gladbach are 12th, Augsburg are 15th. There's not a lot separating them. There's not a lot of kind of difference between the 2 teams, and I think the bookmakers kind of see that as well. Not a clear heavy favourite for this one. They both kind of brought in players. Both both kind of clever enough signings. 𝗍𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 has come in from Tottenham on loan for Gladbach, 21-year-old centre-back. He could help in their defence, and I really like the sign that Augsburg made so far this January window. 𝗍𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 has come on loan from Stuttgart. He really should help on the midfield. He's kind of more of a defensive midfielder. He should help them kind of keep teams at bay and help the way that they're trying to set up since their own kind of coaching change. So yeah, I think this could be a match that's kind of one of those dogged midfield battles. Gladbach haven't been great at home so far this season, just one win at home. They're 16th in the home table in the Bundesliga so far this season. Augsburg have won each of the last 3 times they've met. So I think it's worth a look at an Augsburg win at 3.96 here. It's intriguing because these are 2 teams that are hard to separate. But if you want to play it a bit safer than that, kind of around half that price at 1.89 is an Augsburg double chance.
Yeah, this is our smart bet indeed. Double chance for Augsburg, 1.9. And the last game, Bayern Munich, Wolfsburg. Bayern Munich to win, only 1.15. They smashed Heidenheim in the last game of the year. Remember, the last home game was against Mainz, and we saw a big surprise. Wolfsburg trying to avoid problems this season, only 3 points away from the bottom 3.
Yeah, they haven't really done too much business so far in the winter window to kind of strengthen the squad. The only real kind of move they've made, they've triggered or activated a release clause or a purchase option for the defender they had from Lyon. So they haven't really strengthened their squad so far. Bayern Munich, obviously, as we know, don't really need to strengthen their squad. Their squad is already fantastic. They've been tipped, I think, this week by Jamie Carragher to win the Champions League. So yeah, this is a team that can compete in all competitions, will be brilliant in all competitions. This is a team that scores many goals in every single game. They scored 107 goals in 2025, and that was their second best ever calendar year. 116 they got in 2021. That kind of COVID year where Robert Lewandowski scored so many goals, 58 goals that season. And who was scoring most of them was Harry Kane. He scored 51 goals for Bayern in 2025. So him as an anytime goal scorer, it's always worth looking at. It's 144 here. So it's not really great value when you look at Harry Kane to score goals, but he sometimes gets doubles. Mightn't here, but because it's the first game of the season, or the first game of the year, but we'll see how it goes. Bayern Munich have got over 2.5 total match goals in every single game they played in all competitions. It's 100% for over 2.5 goals. So Bayern themselves to score 2.5 goals is 148. That's slightly better. You have to look elsewhere for value, as you always do with Bayern Munich. Like you said, they're only something like 115, 116 to win this match, which seems to be the odds that are given for every single match of Bayern Munich playing the Bundesliga, regardless of who they're playing against. So you have to look somewhere else for value. Harry Kane to score isn't great value. But if you look at the assister charts, the most assists so far in the Bundesliga, it is Michael Olise with 8. He had the most assists. The next is 6. And I think Luis Diaz is one of those players in 6, and Gnabry has 5. So there's plenty of Bayern Munich players getting in assists. So Michael Olise over 0.5 assists is 255. I think that could be better value than backing Harry Kane to win, or score, I should say.
Well, you have to be creative indeed to find good odds, to find value in the Bayern Munich games, because Bayern to win, of course, is not enough. Smart bet going for under 3.5. Odds are 2.5. Very high odds for seeing an under. Always very unlikely when we have Bayern Munich around. Ronan, this is it. Remember, guys, tipster competitions going on now in January. New one for the monthly competitions and also the yearly. Start participating, because there was a guy winning €1,000 last year as the winner of our yearly tipster competition. So a good opportunity to finish the year in style with a good price thanks to Oddspedia. And of course, we have also Rivals, where you can create your own tipster competitions. Ronan, new year, but same all good things. Safe bet?
My safe bet is going to have Bayern Munich in it. So I'm going for my safe bet. Bayern Munich, Wolfsburg over 2.5 goals at 122.
And the ACCA?
My ACCA is Hoffenheim Asian handicap 0, RB Leipzig Asian handicap 0, Bayern Munich to win for a total of 3.02.
Okay. Thank you, Ronan. Thanks everyone for watching. Enjoy Bundesliga. Bye bye.